Hello. Today, we're going to learn about trees and their functions. So let's get started. So, after reading The Giving Tree, we got to read about this little boy's relationship with a tree. The little boy climbed up the tree's trunk, he swung from the tree's branches, he ate the tree's fruit, he napped in the tree's shade. So, we got to read about a really special relationship between a tree and a boy. But while reading, we also got to learn about many different parts of a tree. And so today I want to dive in deeper and I want to talk about the physical characteristics of a tree, but also their functions and how they work together to help a tree survive in its environment. So I want to take a walk. We spot trees everywhere in our environment, and I want to show you. So, can you think of areas that contain many trees, that can contain trees? It's okay if you can't, because we're about to take a walk and we're going to spot them. So, now we're at the park. We can spot trees everywhere at the park. They do so much. People nap in its shade. They provide us with clean air, which we're going to learn about soon. But they also provide um, a home for many animals. They provide a home for squirrels. They provide a home for birds' nests. So we can spot many trees at the park. So where are we going to go next? We're walking through a neighborhood now. I can spot trees everywhere in my neighborhood when I'm walking my dog. If I'm walking, I'm probably walking by a tree. They do the same thing. They provide us with shade, they provide us with clean air, but they also provide animals with homes like squirrels and birds. So we spotted a tree at the park. We spotted some trees in the neighborhood. Where else can we spot trees? Hiking trails. Trees are everywhere in hiking trails when people are taking a run, having a walk, riding their bike. They're going to spot some trees. But where are we guaranteed to spot trees? Forests. Trees live in forests. And if you're ever walking through a forest, you're going to encounter hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of trees. So, where have we spotted trees? We spotted trees in parks. We spotted trees in neighborhoods. We spotted them in hiking trails. And we spotted them in forests. And so now you see how trees are everywhere around us. So, what do trees give us? So, in the story of the giving tree, the little boy did so much with this tree. The little boy cut off its trunk and cut off the branches to build a house and to build a boat. And how did he do this? It's because trees provide us with wood. Wood comes from trees. And so that is how the boy was able to build his house and his boat. And you can make many things out of wood. You can make pencils, you can make different toys. And so trees give us wood, but trees also give us paper. Paper comes from trees. Trees give us notebooks. Trees give us newspapers. Trees give us napkins. Trees give us any type of paper. But also trees give us fruit. And the little boy ate the tree's fruit, but he also sold the tree's fruit. And so in the story, the tree was an apple tree, but trees can also produce lemons, they can produce oranges, they can produce peaches. But most importantly, trees provide us with oxygen. And what happens is, as humans, we release carbon dioxide, and trees absorb this carbon dioxide and release oxygen. So, and that's what we breathe in. So we have this relationship with a tree. So, in order for trees to provide us with these things, they must be able to survive in the environment. So, we're going to build our own tree. Now, for this activity, you can follow along with me, or you can get some construction paper. You can get some scissors and some glue, and you can build your tree along with me, or you can just follow along. It's your decision. So, the very first physical characteristic of a tree that we're going to speak on is the roots of a tree. So, the roots of a tree are underground and they help anchor the tree to the ground, but they also absorb water and nutrients from the soil and transport it up to the other parts of the tree. So, it all starts in the roots of a tree. So, what we're going to do is we're going to cut out some roots and we're going to add it to our poster board. So as you can see, I colored in brown to represent the soil, and that's where I placed the roots. So we learned about the roots. So now we're going to learn about the trunk of a tree. So the trunk of a tree is the thick stem, and this is the part of the tree that the little boy was climbing up on. So the trunk has two primary functions. Its first function is to provide support to the upper part of the tree, the branches where the boy was swinging from, the leaves, the flowers, the fruit. And its second function is it facilitates the movement from the roots. So the roots absorb water and nutrients and minerals, and it travels up to the trunk. And the trunk it travels from the roots to the trunk, and then the trunk transports it up to the upper parts of the tree. As you can see, the trunk has a very distinct type of texture. And if you ever go up to a tree and touch it, it's rough. It's a very rough feeling. And so the outermost layer of a tree trunk, it's called the bark. And the bark is designed to protect trees from threats, from any growths, any diseases, or any harm that could possibly occur on its trunk. So that's when you're touching a tree and you feel the tree trunk is really rough, that is the bark. Okay, so we learned about the roots and the trunk. So let's add the trunk to our poster board. So here's our trunk. Okay, so next we're going to talk about the branches, which is the part of the tree where the little boy in the book was swinging off of. So the branches are the thick arms that grow directly from the trunk. So the main function of a branch is it provides structural support to the leaves, the flowers, and the fruit that the tree produces. But they also transport water. So let's think back to the roots. The roots transport water up to the trunk, and the trunk transports water up to the branches. And then branches grow these really smaller arms called the twigs, which are right here. And these branches transport water to the twigs, and the twigs provide water to the leaves, which is where the leaves and the flowers grow from. So branches, twigs. Okay, so we learned about the roots, the trunk, and now we're going to add our branches to our poster board. So here are the branches. And I know if you're following along and building your own tree, I know it looks great. Okay, and you see I also added the little twigs, the little mini arms that grow from the branches. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the leaves. So leaves use the energy from the sun to create food for the tree through photosynthesis. Now, this is a really important part, so take notes. So during photosynthesis, the leaves absorb the sunlight and carbon dioxide from the air, which is the carbon dioxide we breathe out. And the energy from the sunlight converts the carbon dioxide and water that the tree is gaining from the roots into sugar and oxygen. So the tree uses the sugar as a source of food, and while the oxygen is released back into the air for us to breathe. So in order for all of this to happen, everything must function correctly. So the roots must absorb the water and the nutrients, travel up to the trunk. The trunk must facilitate the movement to the branches, and the branches must facilitate the movement to the leaves of the tree. And that is how we get oxygen. Okay, so now we can add the leaves to our tree. Okay, so now we can talk about flowers. So the flowers on a tree produce fruit. It is the reproductive structure of the tree. Once the flower has been pollinated, it begins to develop into a fruit. So once the flower has been pollinated, the petals fall off and the ovary behind the petals develop into a fruit. Okay, so we know about the leaves and the flowers. Now the fruit on a tree. The fruit on a tree is edible to us humans and animals, and fruits protect and disperse the seeds that are contained in them. Now, it's important to note that not all trees produce fruits. Not all trees are fruit trees, but in this story, the giving tree is a fruit tree. And it's also important to take note that only female trees produce fruit. So, animals eat the fruits, including the seeds inside. They then go through the animal's digestive system and are left in a new location. The seeds then grow into a new tree. But like I said, not all trees are fruit trees. So, the way other trees reproduce is seeds can blow through wind, seeds can fall from a tree, and wherever they land, they can grow and reproduce a new tree. Okay, so now we have our leaves, our flowers, and our fruit, and we can add them to the tree that we're building. Here is our tree all done up. So we have our roots, our trunk, our branches, our twigs, our flowers, our fruits, and our leaves. So now that we have all this information, let's label our tree. Okay, here's what we're going to do. So now that we have built our tree, it is now time to check our understanding. Those of you watching who have followed along and built your own tree, use this time to label your tree, and those who are simply following along, continue to follow along. So let's label our tree. So I have some flashcards with the characteristic and the function of a tree, and we're going to read it. I'm going to give some wait time for you to check your own understanding before I provide the answer. All right, let's get started. So the function of this says it is a thick stem and facilitates the movement of water and minerals. All right. So I think it's the trunk. And so we're going to place it right here. And notice how the function flips up. That's how I'm going to label it. All right. This function says it anchors the tree and absorbs water and nutrients from the soil and transports it up. It absorbs water and nutrients from the soil and transports it up, and it anchors the tree. That is the roots. So we're going to place the label right there. Okay, next flashcard. This says thick arms that grow. Oh, my roots fell. Thick arms that grow directly from the trunk provide structural support for leaves, flower, and fruit. Where are the thick arms that provide structural support for the flowers, the fruit, and the leaves? That is the branches. So go ahead and label your branches. All right, next one. This says reproductive structure of the tree develops into a fruit once it is pollinated. Develops into a fruit once it is pollinated. That is the flower. So go ahead and label your flower right here. Label it right by a flower. All right, next one. This says edible to humans and animals. All right, so what's edible to humans and animals? And protects and disperses seeds that are contained in them. I think that is the fruit. So we're going to label the fruit. All right. Next, last one. Create food for the tree through photosynthesis. What here creates food for the tree through photosynthesis? That is the leaves. And our tree is all labeled with its characteristics and their functions. All right, so we labeled
So
our
now that
tree. So now you learned all about the physical characteristics of a tree and their functions. And those who at home who did not build their tree along with me, don't worry, I have provided a digital version of the tree. It's the built tree and its label, its characteristics, and its functions. So now when you see a tree outside, you know all of its physical characteristics and all of its functions and how they all work together to help a tree survive in its environment. And you can educate others now. So thank you for watching my lesson about trees and their functions.